Thank you very much. As mentioned, I established Flow Impact Development Consulting 10 years ago, and we are Melbourne-based, but we operate nationally. Over the 10 years, we've been operating primarily on delivering these services here, which are services that are required to achieve planning permits in, well, some of the services here are required to achieve planning permits in Melbourne. 2/3 of councils in Melbourne have been driving sustainability. We're currently at 2/3 of councils, but councils have been driving sustainability in developments in the existing suburbs of Melbourne over the last 10 years. And they're doing a fantastic job. It's coming from council and developments above a certain size that require planning permits now embody the requirement to have sustainability involved. And the tool is the best tool that is used to drive sustainability, and we've been applying that. It sits under the framework, which is sustainable design assessment in the planning process, and that's the framework applied by councils to get sustainability into our infill developments in existing suburbs. But more recently, we're engaged by a growth area council, which is a council that is predominantly experiencing a hell of a lot of growth at the moment, and they recognised the need for sustainability in their growth areas. And it's been a really interesting 10 months because we've learned that there's not a lot of sustainability in growth area housing estates. So that's where we've been working over the last 10 months for one particular project, the one that myself and Neil have been working on. We also deliver climate change adaptation plans for buildings and are doing school sustainability plans, which are very rewarding. Now, I'm talking today because I'm passionate about sustainability in the built environment, and there's just a reminder of what a sustainable community is all about, a livable and sustainable community. The SDG Goal 11 defines a sustainable and livable community as inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable. The United Nations also point out that sustainable development cannot be achieved without significantly transforming the way we manage our urban spaces. And I guess we're probably all aware of that things are moving slower than we would like, so we have to make some significant changes. As I mentioned, we were engaged 10 months ago for a project in a Melbourne Growth Area Council, and the project really was to look at all 5 different areas where sustainability could be embedded into developments. And today I'm going to talk about the top 3, and that's basically the top 3 sections apply to sustainability in growth area suburbs. So the development of new suburbs basically. But the bottom 2, the one on the left, projects requiring a planning permit, as I said, that's where we've spent the last 10 years doing our work, so we're very well versed in that area. And we are also applying sustainability recommendations to council for their built assets as well. But the top area is the area where the significance is that there's not much sustainability in there, and the image on the right-hand side shows that Plan Melbourne, which is the guiding document identifying how Melbourne will be developed over the next 30 years to 2050, suggests that they're looking for 70% of Melbourne's growth to occur in the existing suburbs, and 30% to exist in the growth area suburbs in the new housing estate. So that represents 470,000 houses in Melbourne. Now we know Bendigo, Ballarat, Geelong, Adelaide, all our capital cities are all experiencing the same effect where they're growing massively at the moment. And as I certainly know the Melbourne experience, so apologies for people from other states, but I know there'll be some similarities. That housing estates don't have much sustainability in them. So lots of houses are going to be built over the next 30 years, and we really only have a very minimal level of sustainability in there. We have a 6-star energy rating required on our houses. We have water tanks and a little bit of integrated water management in the street design, but we don't have much more than that. I'm going to talk about suburb design, the master plan design stage, which there's an opportunity to embed sustainability better there. There's also an opportunity to embed sustainability at the subdivision design stage. So that's the land developer who designs the layouts of your streets, your parks and your paths. And we'll also go on and talk about subdivision housing and the opportunity to include ESD at subdivision housing or dwelling design. What's happening currently? That's a pretty typical appearance of what a subdivision might look like. It's generally low density without a critical mass for public transport to be delivered, and no critical mass for employment and services. High density developments are often included in these subdivision designs, but they don't go in until the end, until all the services are in. And conversely, the services often don't go in until the high density's gone in. So, people are left without services for longer than they should be because the high density is slow to go in. We also have a lot of developments, lollipop developments. They're basically out on their own, away from the existing centres. And public transport, Victoria, we know, we've spoken with them, and they're reluctant to bring public transport to these lollipop suburbs because developments are done out of sequence. They won't send public transport to a development where you've got the existing suburbs are down here, you've got a road with no development beside the road, but a suburb up here. So they want public transport, authorities want they want development either side of the road so they can pick up people all the way along their route, rather than just having a lollipop type development. The lack of public transport suggests an increase in car dependency, and we all know that these are very car-dominant places. We're failing to achieve social cohesion, as well as we'd like. We're not knowing as many of our neighbours. Now, there's a lot of factors involved in that, and I'm really only talking about the built environment factors, but garages are built as an integral component to our houses these days. You wake up in the morning, if you're going to work or taking the kids to school or going to the shops and you're driving, you walk from the living part of your house into your garage, jump in your car, which is a cocoon basically, you drive to wherever you're heading to, you come back, drive into your garage, you get out of your garage, you walk into your house. That whole time you're not in the street talking to anyone. Now, I live in an inner suburb in Melbourne. Our car parks is parked in the street, so I regularly bump into people and have some incidental conversations with them, which is just part of knowing who your neighbours are. So, it's a great thing to have a garage attached to a house, but the downside is that we are in our cocoons, our cars, for most of our trips leaving our houses, and that's not a great thing for social cohesion. The other factor that you would have noticed if you drive to a housing estate is that houses are built without porches these days. So, if you wanted on a hot summer's night, you wanted to sit out the front and talk to your neighbours and watch the kids playing in the street potentially. If the kids are not playing on Xbox or something and they are playing in the street, you really haven't got a spot to sit. So it's all coming back through cost savings, but it's a bit of a problem. I've got to say, housing estates are reasonably good on water management in some respects. They've got wetlands now, and they are considering water-sensitive urban design, which is fantastic, but there are still opportunities to improve. There is the opportunity for passive irrigation of street trees. We could be taking the water off our streets, off the roads, and rather than directing that water from the gutters down the drain, we could actually save that water on site and be using that water to help trees grow better. But that's very slow to take off at the moment. It's been discussed, but not being implemented as much as I'd like it to be. Another key factor, housing estates are generally built on the fringes of our cities, so they're eating into our food bowl. Around our cities are generally some of the better agricultural land, so we're losing our better agricultural land and turning that into an urban space. We're losing biodiversity as well. You can see we're building out so much of the lots, such a high percentage of the lot is being built out with the house these days that there's less opportunity for vegetation and trees. We're struggling to get, well, on top of that we have a very high proportion of houses putting in artificial grass. So it's amazing, you take a photo above a new housing estate and there'll be a quarter of it, maybe a third of it will have artificial grass in their small backyard. So what that means is there's a loss of biodiversity there. Natural grass provides biodiversity, supports biodiversity, and artificial grass certainly doesn't. The other effect of the top slide there compared to the bottom slide on the left is that we're creating hot, localised climates. Like there's a microclimate around our urban spaces that's hotter than it would be a kilometre away if you were standing out in the middle of a paddock. And the reason's pretty obvious. It's black roofs. Black roofs are everywhere in Melbourne. I know the photo down the bottom is probably Queensland, and it's certainly an established estate. But they're doing the right thing. They've got light coloured roofs. Melbourne has 75 to 80% of the roofs are going to be black roofs. We have the artificial grass. And if you touch artificial grass on a hot day, it's hot. It's not cool like green, natural grass. There's no evapotranspiration happening out of artificial grass, and there's not many trees, so there's not much evapotranspiration happening out of the trees. I know there'll be more trees as this is established in 10 years' time, so it will look a lot better in 10 years' time, but we are struggling to get trees into these estates. And the middle sort of couple of images, and the one on the right as well, pretty much demonstrate the problem with not having a lot of trees and just demonstrate the warming microclimate around our houses. The purple area in the slide in the middle, 24 degrees, the asphalt temperature is 24 degrees in the shade, and on this 33 degree day when this was taken, it's 64 degrees out, and the asphalt 64 degrees out in the sun. So where would you rather walk? You'd rather be walking in the shade and not out in the sun. And we've got a warming climate. We know we've got a warming climate, so you know, the trees are critical to creating a sustainable urban environment. A couple of other things that we're struggling with. We've got we're trying to get most councils are trying to get 1 tree per lot, and services authorities are now increasing their setbacks. So that's the impact of the increased setback is that it's harder to get 1 tree per lot. So that's working against the goal of having more trees in. And a lot of councils are trying to have urban tree forest strategies, but they're coming unstuck a little bit by the bans of services, which are essential services. So they currently hold sway, and they need to be pegged back a little bit in some respects to allow the greater picture to be understood and acted on. With a warming climate and a warm microclimate around our urban centres, we're using our artificial heating and cooling more often as well, which obviously creates more emissions, so that's not a great scenario. Overall, that's what we've got. We're doing things the way we've been doing things. We're building housing estates fairly similar to how we've been doing them for 50 years. We've got the same curb and channel in the gutters. We're still doing our streets, but we are missing opportunities to do better.